There are few more gentlemanly activities than dining out at a restaurant. Whether you do it only on special occasions or every night, there are some essential etiquette rules you must follow. The mistakes I will share with you in this video range from small, excusable faux pas to potentially evening-ruining behavior. The way you behave at a restaurant says a lot about you. That's why we take potential romantic partners out for dinner, and why building business relationships over meals is so common. By avoiding these 8 mistakes, you'll be able to avoid making a bad impression in any scenario and just enjoy the wonderful experience of dining out. Not reserving a table will always put your plans in jeopardy. Although you might be more likely to land a table on a quiet night, there's no advantage to taking a chance. Even if the plan is spontaneous, be sure to call the restaurant before to make sure they have enough space. Who should make the reservation really depends on who is in charge of the evening. For example, if you're dining with your boss, they have likely made the reservation. However, if you've invited a friend or a date to dinner, then it's on you to make the reservation. How far in advance you need to book depends on the night of the week that you're going and the type of restaurant. But there's nothing wrong with getting your reservation made as soon as you have the date in the diary. Whether you made a reservation or just agreed to meet at a certain time, a gentleman is never late. Sure, if you're meeting good friends, a few minutes is acceptable, even granted in some cultures. But a date or business dinner are times when it's inexcusable to be late. Now, I know that life happens, traffic hits, maybe you didn't quite get your tie the way you wanted it. Leave yourself a 10 to 15 minute buffer and aim to get there early. If you do, you can always just wait at the bar. If you realize you've made a mistake and you are absolutely doomed to be late, don't keep your dining partner in the dark and text them 5 more minutes when you're still in the shower. Communicate with them and be honest so they know whether they can wait or they need to rearrange. The next restaurant mistake a gentleman never makes is not standing up to greet his guests when they arrive. This applies whether it's your best friend from school, a date, or the Queen of England. Well, I suppose that would be a bit hard now. By standing up, you not only show respect, but that you're happy to see them. And you can't give a proper handshake, hug, kiss, whatever you two like to do, when you're sitting down. When dining with others, there is always the opportunity to pay a compliment, which a gentleman never misses. When you're on a date, be sure to compliment something about her outfit or a personality trait that she has revealed. It's okay to make a physical compliment on a date as long as it's classy and respectful. I'm sure you know where to draw the line there. You can also pay a compliment when you're being taken out as a guest, for example by praising the host's choice of restaurant, or asking for their recommendation on the menu and praising the suggestion when you eat it. Out of all the mistakes on this list, this one is the most subtle and the most minor. But it's a bugbear of mine, and it might be a bugbear of your dining partner. In the US, this is much more common and seen as acceptable, but it's a huge etiquette mistake in Britain and Europe. And I think it's for good reason. This one is all about that small roll of bread that you'll find next to your plate or in a shared basket. The mistake is buttering your whole piece of bread, taking a bite, and then putting it back on your plate. The reason this is seen as rude is because it's unsightly for other people to have to look at the bite marks in your bread, especially if it's buttered. It's quite off-putting for people who are eating. What to do instead is tear off a bite-sized piece of bread, butter that, and then eat it one piece at a time. So even in the US, where it might not be seen as offensive, I would recommend going with the British or European method because it's more elegant and polite. Although, of course, I am biased. Out of all the mistakes you could make at a restaurant, none have the power to spoil an evening like this. I'm talking about being rude to the waiter or waitress. There's nothing that's a bigger turn-off to a woman, like when you are impolite to a service worker. It shows a lot of arrogance, and it makes her think how rude you might be to her in the future if that's how you talk to strangers. And even if there is a problem with the food or the pace of the service, it's rarely the sole fault of the waiter. And a gentleman never gets flustered by such trivial problems when enjoying dining out. If something is genuinely bad or the incorrect thing arrived, you can just politely point that out to them and they will change it. Beyond that, I have some basic suggestions for ways you can be polite to your server, as somebody who has many friends who work in this industry. When they introduce themselves and ask you how your evening is going, ask them back. Be sure to say thank you when receiving your food, drinks, and even the check. And leave a generous tip. On a date, she might be paying attention to see if you're a generous tipper. A gentleman is aware that not everything on that menu will be appropriate for the given dinner. For example, on a date, ordering something like a noodle soup or a sloppy cheeseburger will look quite unsightly while you eat it. On a date, I would also avoid foods with strong garlic or onions. I'm sure you can guess why. If you've been invited out to dinner and it's possible that you won't be paying or you will split the bill, pay attention to the price of your meal. It's unfair to order something much more expensive or bigger than average and expect others to foot the bill. So unless you are the guest and your host has ordered a steak, go for a mid-priced meal. And don't order expensive drinks like champagne or rare single malt whiskies, because they might see you as taking liberties on their dime. Of course, if you are paying for the meal, feel free to order whatever you want regardless of the price, but don't be surprised if others follow suit. Now we come to an etiquette mistake that can be impolite in many different situations, but it always applies to restaurants. I'm talking about being on your phone. Even just quickly looking at your phone now and then gives the impression that you are distracted. If you are expecting some important news that cannot wait, explain to the people that you're with that you must check something quickly, apologize, and put your phone straight back without getting distracted again. Is there a good exception to the no phone at dinner rule? I think there is actually, yes. If you're talking about something in the conversation that you want to show them a photo of, I think it's acceptable to show them on your phone. But again, make sure the phone goes straight back in your pocket and you don't get distracted and you get back to the conversation. I hope you have enjoyed this video about restaurant etiquette mistakes that a gentleman never makes. This has been my first etiquette video, and I would love to know from you in the comments if you'd like to see more like this in the future. Now we've been over restaurant etiquette mistakes, what about style mistakes? In this video, I reveal 7 things a gentleman never wears. And judging from the comments, it seems that one of these items in particular is by far the most offensive. So be sure to check out that video if you haven't already. Let me know in the comments if you'd like to see more etiquette content, and I'll see you in the next one.